agenda essentially, Tim, I mean, if you wanted to take it over, that's fine. I mean, I've just been doing it. Pete got sick last year, and then I, started hammering this thing to keep us organized. But essentially, we kind of try to do a review real quick of, where we're at with funds and all that. And I know you're just getting your feet on the ground. I talked to Sender last week, and I think if we can have a goal of having the first quarter statements, at least the first 3 months, so that by the April meeting we can review statements. Do you think that's a reasonable goal?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking Tim. I'm hoping to.
I do think that's a reasonable goal. I've had a lot of conversations with Sender, Carl, and Trista, and Aaron. I've got 2 4-hour training classes on general ledger starting today and ending tomorrow. So yes, I think that's a reasonable request, and we should be able to hit that.
Okay. And ideally, if you can get them out to us, a little ahead of it. I mean, we can even move this meeting around if that, if you need another week or something. But I think it'd be nice if we had that to take a look at, so we kind of stay on target.
For sure. I apologize they're not out there right now, but we'll correct that.
Well, no, that's not necessary. I mean, you're just getting your feet on the ground. I think that's understood. So, we look at the cash position, we look at where variances are, and I think the way Bill had been doing them, the variances show up on autopilot, which is nice. Then you can see anything that's kind of spiking one way or the other. And then we'll talk a little bit later on about Sender's involvement for you, and if that's heavy enough or you need more or whatever. But and then usually he does a quarterly review for us in conjunction with Bill. If you get to the point where you can do it yourself, we don't need him for that, but we used him for that because Bill was kind of overwhelmed during his later months, so it's up to you whether you want to keep him involved at that point or whether you want to do it yourself.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Unfinished business. This is mostly just informational stuff, so we don't lose track of it. The Lakeshore Drive sewer project. Carl had been talking to the SRF people at one point, just for your information, Tim. At one point, they wanted an escrow account in the amount of somewhere approaching 300 and something thousand to sit there during these couple of years. We were hoping that we could get away without that, and the discussions were encouraging with them. So that I just want you to be aware of that, and hopefully now we do have to consider bad debt allowance in the event that some Lakeshore people don't pay their capital charges. That will be a liability for the town. So we talked about that, whether to carry some money in a liability for future, non-payment sort of a thing. So, and how much to squirrel away. So that's something we can talk about, once the project gets bid and awarded and underway. And again, if anybody has any questions about any of these things as we're rolling through this, just pop them up. I'm trying to bust through this unfinished stuff pretty quick. Arpa funds, we all kind of know, I think, hopefully, Tim, they explained some of that to you, but we got 2 little pots of money. One was CARES money back when the COVID was hitting hard, and that money I believe we spent, but I don't know for sure. And then the ARPA money was significant. That's a couple $100,000 this year and a couple $100,000 next year. I think it was a total of like almost $400,000.
I think it's 262. No, I'm sorry to interrupt. I talked to Sender about this yesterday, and Trista believes it's 262, and there, I have the original. I'll send you this stuff. I apologize, I haven't done that, John. But the original ordinance had been given to Bill. There's I'm sorry, I'm rereading this, but the committee. There has to be a committee established for this fund, and apparently there is a committee. It's this committee, and we'll need to verify if you ever drafted the plan and approved the plan through the council vote of how to spend this money. The plan is approved. The council then appropriates the money to be spent through the normal course. If it's for 2022 spending, we'll need an additional appropriation. Looking to 2023, we can include amounts in the budget itself, and an additional appropriation would not be needed. Again, this is from Trista. She can assist with these pieces once we're ready to do either. One important thing to note, the first grant reporting back to the feds is due April 30th. It's an annual report. They can assist with that. Bill and Sender had started that behind the scenes, but they're not sure yet how far it went. So I'm going to investigate that with Trista and send her this week.
Oh, super. Okay, so you're on top of that.
Yeah. I'll send you what I just read off too.
Super. So in terms of this, our committee, meaning of Budget and Finance, coming up with a plan that's got to be approved by the council. I think the council accepted the money already with a resolution of sorts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like we need a plan of how we're going to allocate it, though.
There you go. Now, my understanding was you had until 2024 to spend it.
I believe it might even be further, but I'm sure we'll be able to spend it by then. It might be beyond 2024, but to be safe, and again, I'll verify it, but 2024 for sure.
Okay. So I don't want to get too far off track, but one of the things that Bill was thinking we could spend it on, we always, the community center is always a net deficit in terms of income, revenue expenditures, mostly because of utilities. There was some thought that maybe that would be one arena where we could spend some of that money. But either way, do you want to do a working group to figure out? I mean, are you on the impression that before this April 30 deadline, we better have this plan in place?
Before the April 30 deadline, we have to have an annual report back to the feds that specifies how we intend to allocate this money. And the more general, the better, according to Senator. For example, we can say firehouse repair or police vehicle or town emergency vehicle expense. And then we can always go back and amend things once we say what it is. But the more general we say the way we're going to use it, the less likely we'll have to go back and amend it if we start off too specifically. So I'll iron out those details with Senator and get them to you. But we have to tell them in general terms by April 30th what we plan to do with money.
Got it. So we better have made a plan before the next council meeting, meaning the April meeting, such that the council can put their rubber stamp on the plan.
I think that's great. Yes, I think that's a good plan of action.
Okay. So maybe what we'll do at the end of this meeting is come up with either a working group or another meeting for this group for, late March or early April or something prior to the council meeting so we can draft that, even as simple as, unless you want to come up with a draft, I don't know, whatever you think, Tim.
Well, I have 4 hours with Senator today for general ledger training, so I'm going to address all this stuff. And maybe after the meeting, I can shoot you an email and we can figure out the next steps. But for sure, we should maybe get a meeting on the calendar and, if possible, select a group that's going to be part of this plan.
Got it. Okay. Fair enough.
Question, Tim, you said 262. Is that for a year or for the whole package?
That's for the whole thing. We have like 140 already, and we're going to get the balance of it around July.
Okay.
Second part.
Okay.
All right, sweet. So, okay. We'll set that meeting before we bust out. The CCMG, again, informational here. I think everybody's kind of aware of this. Hopefully, Tim, you are. If not, you can. I'll explain it to you. But basically, we're going for about $1.1 million. They should let us know in April if we're awarded and how much of that we're going to be awarded. And then, the expenditure doesn't come until we actually do the project, which would take, a couple of months of engineering, final engineering, and then, we actually blast off sometime, maybe summer or fall, hopefully summer, with the project, and then we have that expenditure. So just so you're aware, then, we have to shell out for the engineering, which in this case, we're estimating around 125, and the actual, our 25% cut of that 1.1, which is in the neighborhood of 280 grand. So again, you'll get a check from them once they award it that you deposit into your CCMG account. So that money just sits there until it's spent.
Okay.
We always have this dilemma because you can't really budget for this. You've heard this before, I think. You can't really budget for this, but we do have to consider it and be aware of particularly our cut and the engineering costs because those are on our dime.
Bill and I did discuss that, and I'm hoping to get them in this week, and which that's the bottom part of the agenda, but I'll make sure that Bill's involved with this as well. He's familiar with it.
Got it. I threw this on here. This grants really is not necessarily a budget and finance item, but there is a contract that we need to sign and get back to them. I think there's also a down payment and I haven't looked at this in a little bit, so I apologize, but what we probably need to do is try to find that in the office. Tim, if you haven't got it, then maybe I'll resend the email over to you specifically, because I think it went to Bill. So we do have to get that thing signed and back out and then get them involved, because the idea there is to get them actively pursuing whatever grants are available now, and certainly get situated such that as the infrastructure money that coming from Washington becomes available, that they're up and running.
Okay, yeah, John, if you have it handy, please email it to me. I'll search around the office though as well.
Oh, no problem. I'll just resend it to you. That might be simpler than trying to find it.
Great.
Capital plan and financing and action plan. I threw that on there. We've talked about this for quite a while. The council did 2 approvals, a preliminary approval like 6 months ago, and then at our last meeting, we came up with a kind of a more definitive idea of where the numbers lie, and actually did another approval. So what that means is, and we'll talk in detail about the community center in a minute. Joe's got something to report, but for instance, on the fire department, we contacted one design build contractor at our fire commission meeting last week, and we intend to proceed with him on some paperwork to actually, come up with some numbers and come back to the council for approval on actually doing the work. So that's where we're at with the capital plan. I also talked to Tom Dolph. He has some specific things that were in there for this year: a pickup truck and a dump trailer, and then also the hydro excavator needs to be purchased. And I'll go over this with you, Tim. We can do this independent of this meeting, but there's actually a construct. It's a quasi-governmental thing called Sourcewell, where you can buy. They already negotiate numbers with vendors such that you can buy equipment without going through a multiple vendor quote process. It's somewhat similar to what Mark does when he buys squads. There's a state program where you can get squads at a negotiated price. You don't have to go out and get 3 numbers. I'll go over that with you in detail, Tim, later. But at any rate, we're at the point where we're trying to get some numbers in and get some things activated, because if you haven't had a chance to review all that, you and I can go over it at some point or whenever, or if you want to go to, we can do it today. But essentially, the council's authorized us to spend the dough. We just need to get detailed quotes back to them so they can authorize the expenditures.
That's great. Dick and I had a good review of that budget, and I'm meeting with him on Thursday as well. So maybe we can get a little more in depth after that meeting.
Okay, good. So we kind of released the dogs on that. Essentially, they're all out there trying to get some numbers. I don't think you've got that Sourcewell dope. I actually initiated an account with them, and then you and I can go over that at some later time. Contract reviews. This is kind of a more esoteric sort of thing. I know Marks and you are involved in reviewing the employee health insurance and getting some quotes. We also talked at one point about cross-checking what we're paying Republic on our waste removal contract. I think Bill had talked at one point late last year with Waste Management, and just to cross-check and see where we were. We all kind of thought that having the existing contractor during the sewer project was probably a good thing, because that's going to be such a nightmare on Lakeshore. So we didn't really, even if it was a little cheaper, but we didn't necessarily want to switch vendors in midstream. But on the other hand, maybe in the coming year, we can get quotes from them just to cross-check and make sure we're in the ballpark with Republic's numbers.
I've gotten some calls from Lakeshore as well. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but I can get a quote from them. They seem pretty eager to do business with us.
Sweet. Yeah, I think that's worth looking at. MS4, there is a contract in the office. I hope you've seen it. If you haven't, I can resend it to you. What that is, on the stormwater side of life, we kind of got the rug pulled out from underneath us. We were in a 4-legged consortium for our MS4 responsibilities. What that is essentially the IDEM makes you be what's called an MS4, and we are one. The president of the council is the ultimate responsible party, but Tom Dolph has always handled those duties. Well, they've changed everything up. There's new forms. The county is running their own MS4 through the Soil and Water Conservation District, and our responsibilities, we've chosen, the council approved this contract with an outfit called Butler, Fairman, and Seaford, who has this former IDEM lady who's really, really sharp. It's basically an hourly professional contract similar to what we do with the attorneys. and she's helped us out already. She's been to the meeting with us with the soil and water conservation, and she'll help us fill out all this form work. But the contract nominal amount was 15 grand. I don't think we'll need anywhere near that, but it was just to establish the contract. But we do need to get that signed and out to them as well. I know Chris, we always have our attorney take a look at it. Chris has that in his possession. He's looked at it already. I think he made one minor change that we need to get back to them, but then we need to get that signed. I just want to keep it on here so you know about it, Tim, and we need to get that signed and out, in relatively short order because she's actually already working for us.
All right, thank you. Then I'll make a priority out of those things.
Budgeting process. This is just hanging on with. I'm sure as you get your feet on the ground with Sender and all, just so you start becoming aware of those deadlines and where where you have to have things accomplished. All of a sudden, the summer will hit you right in the backside because they are some significant deadlines, and you got a lot of work to do there. I'm sure. Again, once we decide on how much Sender is going to help you, you'll just make use of them for whatever you need. But they are pretty hard and fast deadlines, so you just have to kind of be aware.
Great. While we're talking about deadlines, John, if you can, you or Sender, if you have any, this agenda absolutely helps me for sure, but if you have any dates that are super important, you can always call me, email me, text me, and just say, hey, don't miss this, or, all hell's going to break loose. Any update you can give me is great.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna get intimately involved with this gateway system, which is how you submit all this garbage, and I'm assuming in Sender's efforts. And again, back to this, whether we get this deep dive and how significantly and I know you got a pretty big funnel with a whole lot coming at you right now, but maybe the thing to do at some point would be to get Sender and you and whoever else, if you wanted to have, maybe we do it at this other meeting where we're going to tackle that other stuff, the art money or something. If we got Sender involved at that point, then he can maybe, or Tristan or whoever's working intimately with you, can give you that snapshot when those days.
Yeah, a good list of all filing deadlines would be super helpful.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, good. New business. I know you're going 100 miles an hour here. What are you getting any kind of feel for what you think you need from us? Where you're at with your people? I kind of just threw this on there to have you give us a little report on where you're at, what your comfort level's at, and how much help you need from us and that sort of thing.
Yes. Is Helen on this call?
I think I sent her the invite. I don't know that she is.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, she's not on, I don't think. But anyway, go ahead.
All right. Well, Deanna is intimately helpful. She knows a lot of stuff, probably more than she lets on to. And so she has been, incredibly important. And I have, nothing but good things to say about Deanna. There are some systems that are in place, and again, I'm new enough to know that we got to fix things. I'm just too new to know exactly how to fix them, but we identified a few things with Sender yesterday, and we're making a few changes. Deanna is a little resistant to change. It's sort of like, Tim, I've been doing this for 17 years, and my reply is yes, but the world is very different now from 17 years ago, and this job is different, and technology is different, so we have to take advantage of what we have available to us and utilize better technology and better systems so that you can do your job better. So we're making changes with the way Deanna operates on some certain levels right now, and we'll continue to investigate for further improvements with her role. Helen, she's incredibly smart, incredibly qualified, overly qualified, and there is. She has been involved with all the civic training. She knows the systems. We've done payables, receivables, payroll. We're jumping into the general ledger today and Thursday. I think Helen will be a valuable asset to our group, but there are some personality challenges as with every group, and my role right now is to kind of get them all to get along and work together and know what their roles are so that we can have a harmonious existence and make it work. So I'm pro Helen right now. So let me just say that I believe she, with the right direction and the right role and the right office environment, for lack of a better term, I think the Helen and Deanna mantra works out okay. Probably pretty good. Lynn kind of comes in, keeps her head down, does her job, and I think she's important too. I would say Lynn is, very, very necessary in the water department, the way it operates currently. She's receivables, Helen's payables, and as I said, Helen has been involved in more things regarding the town than just water, and she'll continue to expand that role. So between the three ladies and myself, I feel like we're on the right track. Dick McNamee is super talented, super knowledgeable, also super busy. He was in Florida for 10 days. I think he's muted right now, so he'll correct me if it was only 9 days. You know how accountants are. But he's back. He's coming in Thursday. We're gonna swear him in as a deputy. We're gonna swear in Helen. We're gonna swear in Lynn and Deanna, just so we kind of all have a responsibility and a clear direction of what we're doing there. And then with that group and with Sendra's involvement, probably a little heavy for the near future. And then, as you said, John, maybe we can taper that off as we all kind of get our feet wet. I think we're pretty good there, but I can't stress how I think it's been a management challenge more than anything, and that I've had to help people identify what they do, help stress that they need to work with each other, and I think once that's in place, we all can be a little more productive in that office than maybe we were before.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I know you're going balls to the wall on training too. If there's anything else, that we can help you with, or assets, or, equipment, or anything you find you need, just raise your hand and we'll do the best we can to get you whatever you can.
It's been great. And I didn't say Chief Swisbeck has been incredibly helpful too. He's a great guy to have around that place, and brings a kind of a nice, easygoing, good directed management style that we are all appreciative of. So thank you, Mark.
Tim, if I could just say one thing, that with Deanna, and that's why we've got something out to try to get quote unquote a secretary. She does a lot presently, a lot of work with the building commission, and we should make sure you understand that for her sake, because she does put time in. You see me in there when I come in a lot of times, Tim. I'm picking up papers and this, that, and everything else, and that's where, because she, we don't collect, the building commission doesn't collect any money, and that's the right way it should be. But so she collects all the fees, she collects the permit applications, etc. So there is some time, and I just want you to be aware of that from her point of view, that there is work that she does. We could maybe reevaluate it and figure out how to do it. We've had something out to find a secretary for the building commission, but we haven't gotten any responses yet.
So Joe, I'm aware of that, and Deanna doesn't make any qualms about telling me how busy she is and what she does every second of the day. So I got it. But as far and the building secretary would be absolutely a help, but in Deanna's role, and I don't know if she's listening, God forbid, but we've got to bring in the right person, and she has to let go of some of that stuff and not be afraid to delegate or have somebody else help her. That's a challenge that we're kind of working through. I've identified a good individual for that role. I sent Mark her resume. She's like a 47-year-old married woman who lives in Michigan Shores, and I can't. I've known her for a really long time. I can't speak to her administrative abilities, but I think she would be at least a really good one to interview. So, Mark.
All right. All right, so the only thing I'm just saying now from a building point of view, and Bob, you're on the call too if you want to say anything. But I just want to make sure that what we're talking about, the person that we're looking to hire is somebody that would work for or with the building, and just take some of the role away from Deanna, or even away from you guys, because you guys collect the money, and that's great. But then the rest of it, maybe the building commission should come up with a better way of handling the permits, et cetera, because Deanna does a lot of that work.
She does. She does. The collection of that it's incredible how much we get, how many $65 registration fees and permit fees we get in there. And I'm, Deanna and I have a system for depositing that money, which is really kind of antiquated. And it's one of the things we've sort of revamped. Yes, we're in the process of revamping with Civic's help. But just the idea of getting the checks in, getting them deposited on the same day, they kind of have been sitting around a little bit. And then there's this, well, gee, I don't know if they're even going to get a permit. Maybe I should hang on to the money for a while. And, I'm like, you can't do that. Our job is to collect it and deposit it. And what happens with the permit application and the building department is their business, later on. And they can report back to us if there's no permit. And if there's ever a desire to refund permit applications, which I don't know that you guys would do that or care to do that. And I don't think I need to know that now until you tell me to account for it. But currently, my role with Deanna regarding this issue is to collect the money from the contractor and deposit it on the same day and keep appropriate records so that we can, back it up.
Okay, because the only reason I'm just bringing it up, and I just wanted to make sure, is that what we're looking for is more on the building point of view, and not somebody that would be an extra employee for you, but would be somebody that would work for the building commission.
Yeah, I understand that. I read the job description. I think it would be a great addition. It would for sure help Deanna and help you guys. And like I said, maybe that applicant that I threw over to Mark would be a good one, but you guys can check her out. But I got it. She works for a building. I got it.
Laurel, did you have something?
I did. Horizon Bank has, and I'm not sure exactly all of the thing. It was presented to me at my business, but they have like a scanner that you can have in your office and scan your checks to make your deposit. You don't even have to go to the bank. I know there's a fee involved, but when you start looking at the deposits that, the town has, the quantity, it probably would pay off, and then nobody has to go to the bank. You can get the money there right away. We, in the water department, that could be a big benefit also. Although I don't know if we'd have to have two scanners because of different accounts, but that's something to look with Horizon Bank too.
That's a great idea. I would love that. And also, speaking of new hardware, a small receipt printer, which I'll get pricing on and I'll report back to you guys, but something that would hook into Deanna's terminal so that when she takes money from contractors, she can print a receipt and give it to them rather than, write a carbon copy in a book, tear it off, give them one, attach the other to the check, hand the check to me, have me enter it, then it comes back to her and she puts in the writing for the deposit, and then I drive over to the bank. That's a little cumbersome, and I'm not saying I don't want to do that, but we can definitely streamline it. And for sure, a check scanner and receipt printer would be spectacular.
Hey, Tim.
Yep.
Tim, out of that meeting yesterday, I agree. When she forwards over, when Krista sends us that information on that receipt printer, if you just want to send that over to us, we'll get that ordered right away. I'm sure it's only a couple $100, and then we'll get it hooked up through the IT and that, get that working for you. So that's not a problem.
Awesome. Okay, I'll get you that today, Mark. Thank you.
Dr. May, a quick question for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So today, the article that we ran in the News Dispatch will be ending on the Building Commission part-time secretary. Just looking for some direction from the Building Commission, how you guys want to proceed with the interviews. Do you want Mary Lou, myself, and maybe a liaison from the building commission to be involved in the interview so we can start expediting this for you? What would you prefer?
Yeah, I think that sounds good. Joe, do you want to be involved in that process?
Oh, definitely. I would think that Larry and I would both want to interview the person, and
Okay.
that would be very important for us to make the final decision.
Yeah, and I did talk to Deanna about her role with the building commission. She was really of the opinion that having somebody, a secretary, sit in the office, 8 hours a day to wait for contractors to come in with their permit applications and their fees probably didn't make a lot of sense for the town. And, I'm struck that if we can make her job easier, particularly in this deposit and receipt realm, that'll be even easier for her. But I think really the building commission kind of had in mind somebody who could take care of filing at the building commission, take care of minutes and agendas. And Deanna really, at least when I talked to her last week, wasn't of the opinion that somebody to talk with the contractors and to forward permit applications to building commission would be of a huge benefit to her. Obviously, it's up to the town as to what we want to do, but that was kind of her input from it. I guess my thought is if we can make her job even easier with the deposit process and receipt process, maybe that would be a reasonable approach, because somebody sitting in there 8 hours a day just waiting for contractors probably doesn't make a lot of sense. Plus, most of the registration is early in the year.
I agree, Bob, that if we can streamline it with a little bit of technology, it would make that job a lot easier. And honestly, never would I dare to say anything disparaging about Deanna, because she's awesome. But I think she kind of likes to chit chat with the contractors. So it's time consuming, but it's not, 100% not self-inflicted maybe. We're on that.
But I think my main concern is that there's definitely communication between all of us on what type of person we're looking for, who we're looking for, and what their role would be. And I think that's important because, like I say, for me, this is more for the building commission to try to get change some things that we do and organize things, and possibly, and we've said it's a part-time job, and where they would work from, that's a whole different question, because mostly they'd probably be working from home. But I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with this hiring this person.
Joe, if you want to swing by later today, I'll give you a copy of the first resume we have, and then I'll check with Pam to see if we've received any additional in the last week. But to date, I have one on my desk for you to look at.
Okay. Or you could, if you want, if you can't, you want to just throw it in my box.
Will do.
Then when I have time to come in, I can just pick it up.
All right. So I think we're down to, I threw Public Works Accounting - Water on here, Tim, as much, again, for just a little bit of discussion together. Traditionally, there's been, I think if you go back historically, there's been this idea that, back when the water board was the water board as opposed to what it is now, which is just a part of the public works function, their accounting systems and their accounting information was kind of wholly separate. I know Laurel can speak to this probably better than I can. I think the way the town council anticipates it to work now is that you will, be intimately involved in whatever's going on with the public works accounting on the water side, as well as the street and anything else going on. And that part of your reporting requirement or duties would be to not only the budget and finance, but also to the town council, would include all of that responsibility. Unless somebody else has a different thought on that, I think that's the way we want to see this proceed. So I don't know how much help, Laurel's been doing a lot of this on her own, or I think maybe with Mary Lou's help. I don't know, Laurel, you can speak to that. But my thought is, from a management perspective, and in terms of some of the issues we had with the State Board of Accounts over the last couple of years, that this needs to be under your purview, and you need to be intimately involved in whatever's going on the water side as well as everything else that's going on in the town. So if anybody else has a different opinion about that, but that's where I think it needs to be.
I agree with you, John. I would, not that I'm looking to add more to my plate, but it's happening right under my nose with Helen and Lynn. And I mean, I'm right there every day with them. So I should be the one that they can go to with questions or concerns. And therefore I would be their manager and be responsible for what they're doing. Sender and I will have a discussion about how to keep on top of the accounting of that group. Barb came in the other day, the previous water department clerk. She provided some good insight on how things used to be and how they worked beautifully before and maybe not so well now, but we're hoping that we can get back to where they all work. And I have, oversight of that group.
I think Laurel can speak to it, but there was an effort, I think, earlier this year to maybe massage the accounts a little bit. By that, I mean, there were some accounts that maybe we could jettison that weren't necessary anymore. Laurel, do you want to maybe bring?
Yes, my understanding from Tim that Helen didn't open these accounts yet, but now that she's had her training in general ledger, she will do that. And then I'm not sure where she is with the budget for the water department for 2022, but hopefully that was part of the thing that needed to be done first. So hopefully they'll come along real soon. And Tim might be able to shed some light as to where she is with the budget.
We talked about that on Monday, and she said that she would have figured to me by the end of the week.
Okay.
And then regarding, I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to tell you. The budget and, sorry, I lost my train of thought. We're working on Helen, though. I think as I said earlier, she's committed to making this happen properly, and I'm communicating with her often every single day about what her responsibilities are and how she's to be evaluated.
Okay, on the sender, this is just, your ball game, Tim. If you need help from us, let us know. I'm assuming that you're just authorizing them to keep somebody in the office with you when you need them and help you with training, and we're just letting you handle that. If you need some help from us, I do think we can set that meeting we talked about to talk about the ARP money. But if there's anything else you want us more intimately involved with, and as you go through this, I think we're all willing to help. So.
Thank you. Yeah. So Sender has been involved in the civic training, which is, really nice. If I have questions, I can always call Civic, but now I can call Sender. Maybe that's a little bit of a duplication of efforts, but for right now, at least the next 2 4-hour sessions we have with Civic regarding the general ledger, I think having Trista from Sender on there is going to be a good addition. And then again, like you said, John, when we all kind of get our feet wet and figure things out, we can taper off Sender's role, and that expense will reduce greatly. Regarding what assistance or help I would need right now, I understand Joe's comments about the secretary, and I have no desire at all to manage or have that person under my supervision. However, if it does help Deanna, like it sounds like it might, then I'm all for it. And if I can assist in any way in getting that person onboarded, I'm happy to do that. As far as the printer and the check scanner, that would be great. I'll get details on that today to Mark. And then we'll power through the next 2 days for Civic, and I'll have a good handle on the general ledger, and then we can further address some of these things like the ARP ordinance and committee.
Other than setting the meeting, that's all I've got. If anybody else has any questions or anybody else wants to speak about anything, or if we need public comments, I guess we'll just ask.
Go
ahead, Mark.
Yeah, no, Joe. I'm just wondering, I just want to get it out that because I've talked to pretty much almost everybody on the committee, but I just want everybody to be aware of the boiler situation, because I believe that has to go to the town council to let them know and what happened and to approve everything.
Yeah, I don't know if Tim's aware, but yeah, so Joe they had to do an emergency purchase of about $8,000 worth of boiler, and then they need another boiler for about $9,000 or whatever it is. So those are, I think, may have been on the capital plan. I'm not sure if they were on for 2022, but we may have to, again, that's a working document, so we'll have to massage those numbers. But I think that was part of the capital plan. It may not have been in 2022's budget for the capital, but at any rate, those are not astronomical numbers. I don't think they're scary, but we do want to have the council approve what was already spent and then what's coming.
Yeah, I'll talk to Tim after this meeting and make sure it's on the agenda for this next town council meeting.
Right. I did talk to Joe about the boiler. In fact, I saw him at the community center last night. We had more boiler discussions. And to Joe's point, it's important to replace the one that recently broke sooner rather than later, so that we get the model that will still communicate with the one that's in the community center, rather than if we waited, maybe technology changes and then the two don't work together and then we got to buy two. So it's important that we do it sooner rather than later. I'm in agreement.
Are we okay waiting until the March meeting? Is that our time frame okay?
Yeah, we're good with that.
Okay.
In fact, Tim, if you stay on here after this meeting, we can talk about these agenda items, if that's okay.
Yeah, please. Great.
Okay.
You know, one nice thing, and it may just have been in a vacuum or whatever, or how things were always done, but it's nice. The earlier we can get your information and or the agenda, so that if we have additional agenda items, that would be good. Sometimes, you know, depending on how busy your office gets, Tim, we wind up getting those agendas like a day before the meeting or something. It would be sweet if we could get them, you know, obviously with a Monday meeting, if we could get them, and usually Deanna's really good about it. The earlier the better, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, so that we've got a little time to digest things. And if we do have additional items, maybe we can get them on the agenda.
I'll stress that today. And I think the issue was with the last one, it was a federal holiday and some of the agenda items came in very late in the day. And, you know, she had not intended on working that day at all. And I think I let her go at 2. And by the time the additions came in, it was 4. So, yeah. But I appreciate your comments, and I'll make sure that that's taken care of early.
Hey, John.
Go ahead.
Quick question for you on the capital plan. So I just want to bring the group up to speed. Originally, the police capital plan was to begin the research for our police vehicle replacement this fall, getting the purchase out there and then paying for it in the first quarter of 2023. Well, as you and I had discussed, the vehicle that we're looking at replacing, the 2014, typically the police vehicles go about 8 years before they start experiencing problems. Well, that particular vehicle that Deputy Babcock's currently driving went into the shop 2 weeks ago. They wanted over $2,000 to do some repairs on it. I have foregone those repairs for now, wanting to start the search probably a few months earlier for the replacement car, because I'd hate to dump good money into a car that we're going to get little in return on trade. So my question is, are we going to be financing the new police vehicle, or will we be paying for it outright? Do you know by chance?
I know we financed them in the past. That's a good question that I don't know if Tim's equipped quite yet for that decision, but that's something we need to spend a little time with Sender on, Tim, I think.
I think some of this ARP money can be used toward a police car purchase. And I'll confirm that, and maybe we can address that in our committee for this expense.
I'll look what options are available out there. I have been working with some of the state vendors that supply police vehicles, and I may have an outlet where I can come across a 2022 unit. You can't order 2022s any longer. Ford has stopped taking orders. They're going to begin taking orders next quarter for 2023s. The problem is they may stop the government incentive fees. If they stop those, right now I found a 2022 that I may possibly get a lead on. We could save $9,000 on the purchase, where if we waited for 2023, those government incentive fees may not be available. So I'll continue that research, and then I'll let the group know once I find more. But that's just something as we talk capital here in the next month or two, if we can decide on financing or straight out purchase. But I'll get options on both. You
know, when we talked to Sender about the capital plan in some relative detail Mike Johnstone and myself, we knocked around, for instance, the fire department issues, the station remodeling and the fire truck purchases. And he was very insightful about how to finance and or not finance some of those pieces. So I think now that we've gotten the council approval for some more specific numbers, I think we probably need to sit down with yourself, Tim, and Mark and myself and whoever else, we think should be involved. But I think as we move through these capital acquisitions, we need to, be intelligent about how we do that. So as the decision as to whether to use CARE money or finance, I think I'm not comfortable making that decision myself, and I'm not sure you are, Tim, but we probably would need Sender for some insight on those kinds of decisions. We financed a big loader for Tom when the lease came due, which was a surprise to all of us. That was another motivation to do this capital plan. All of a sudden, we had to jump in and finance 90 grand over, I forget how many years. But we need to be more proactive, I think, looking forward for how we pay for all these things and which pieces make sense to finance and which don't. So it's kind of a sticky wicket, but I think we're going to be forced into making some quick decisions about a lot of this stuff, similar to what Joe presented with the boilers and what Mark's presenting with the squad. So I know you're busy, but maybe if you can talk to Sender and see if he's got some time in the next couple of weeks. Mark, is this opportunity with the squad pretty imminent?
I'm going to reach back out to him today. The difference would be if I could get my hands on the one that is on order that is not accounted to another law enforcement agency yet, would be a difference of paying $47,000 compared to we could pick it up for $38,000. So it's a considerable savings. So I will follow up on that to see, and I'll ask if they have a lease option available or to buy it outright. But otherwise, to buy it outright, we could possibly pick this one up. It's not yet been manufactured; it's on order, so it would probably be months before we would get it. But we could get it for $38,000 with the government incentives, and it would save us $9,000 right now.
So Mark, I'll be on with Sender from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock today. I'll be on with Trista rather and Civic, but I'll make sure that we address this. If I have to get Carl on to talk about it, I will, and then I'll come and see you by the end of the day.
Appreciate it. And I'll continue, John, to do some research on it to see what our options are out there. I'm just trying to save us the most money in the long run with the prices on cars are just crazy right now. So.
I agree. And I'd hate to miss the opportunity over a timing issue. 38,000 is not a scary, or 40 grand is not a scary number for me. I think if Tim and you guys decide to pull the trigger, I think the town council will back you up on it to save that kind of dough. But again, I do think we need, ideally you don't make these kinds of decisions under the gun. The idea is to plan forward. So
sure.
In the overall, we still need to get, and we're at a tough spot right now with Tim getting the sea legs. So, but I do think we want to sit with Sender in relatively short order so that we don't, because Tom's got these things coming up, and then we've got this Vermeer hydro excavator that we've got the budget for, so that's not a problem. But again, the decision to finance and not finance is pretty critical. So maybe, after we get the first quarter numbers in April or something, Tim, maybe we have a capital meeting with Sender. I think the squad thing's something we could authorize right away if we needed to, but maybe we get Sender involved after those fourth quarter numbers or first quarter numbers, right? And then we sit down with him on the capital plan and tighten it up a little bit.
Yeah. Is this something that you can put a hold on, Mark, before committing financially, just to make sure that we don't lose the opportunity?
I'm going to touch base with them today because the one unit they have left that's waiting for production was not designated to a law enforcement department. So I'm going to see if I can secure it or not. And then again, it would be one of those things, it'd be months before we'd even see the vehicle. And then I can look at, lease options, paying for it outright, stuff like that. But I plan on following up because otherwise we would be forced to purchase a 2023 unit. I will tell you the last two cars we bought last year, we paid $33,500. So that just shows even if we pick this one up for 38, we went from 33 to 38. And I'm afraid next year they're showing prices as high as $47,000 in that.
Sure, for sure. Well, if you can put a hold on it without obligating us to do anything financially just yet, I think that's okay. Would you guys agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. You got two council members right here. They're both shaking their heads. I don't think you'll have any problem at all. If you needed an emergency appropriation to get the thing bought, I'm sure we could do that.
And then I have 2 vehicles also that I'm going to be trading in, so I would assume probably we'll get another $8,000 in trade or selling them outright at auction like we did the last police unit, because then there'll be about an additional probably $10,000 in expenditures for outfitting, lighting, graphics on the car, stuff like that. You know, we'll be able to reuse police radio and some other equipment. But we budgeted $50,000 for the full outfitting of the car with the car purchase. But I'll continue working on it, and I'll keep the group informed.
Great.
You know, Mark, I saw LaPorte Police is going to full leasing. I'm not sure if that's been researched enough to know if that's a good decision or a bad decision. It seems like kind of a new avenue for that kind of vehicle, but
It's good for the maintenance side because you're not looking at major expenditures there. But you pay a little bit more for the car. So I will inquire about that as well to see if that's a possibility, and I'll keep you updated.
I mean, I'm assuming you guys looked at that years ago when, you know, in your former life. I mean, maybe it makes no sense at all. And I'm not even suggesting it. It's odd that, you know, one city like that goes whole hog into that program.
Yeah, no, I've looked at it before, and there's some nuances to it.
So I think we're at the point where, unless somebody else, I don't see any hands raised. Let me see. I know it's looked like Mr. Risby's on. I don't know if Dick had any comments or anybody else has any comments. Zafar, did you have anything you wanted to?
No, thanks, John. I appreciate it.
So really, that's all I had. Other than, do we want to set that meeting for the ARP stuff, Tim?
Yes. What works for you? I'm here every day. So if you give me an idea, I'm sure I can make it work.
Do we need a representative from Center there, or do we just want to knock it around ourselves, or what do you think?
You know what? And that's a good point. Let me talk to Trista and Carl today, and I'll circle back with you by the end of today. Is that okay?
Well, that's fine with me. If you could stay off the 17th, that would be appreciated.
Why? What day is that? I don't think Mr. McNamee would be appreciative of a 17th meeting either, nor would myself. So, okay, you got it.
From about 3 o'clock on, we're over at Swing Belly setting up to do our traditional Irish singing.
Nice.
Great. So, but other than that, I'm in good shape. I don't know where everybody else is at, but yeah, just let us know what you find out, and we can get together. That's all I have. If anybody else has anything else, otherwise, I think it's adios time.
Okay, Tim, if you could stay on, we can go over these agenda items then, okay?
That's great. Okay, all right. Thank you, everybody else. John, I'll talk to you before the
Bye,
end.
everybody.
Okay, guys, I'm not going to end the meeting, Bob. I think you can do that.
You know what, I'll reclaim the host, okay?
There you go. All right,
Yeah.
See you guys.
All right, bye, everybody. So Tim, I got a bunch of agenda items. I've been kind of just writing them down as they come up. We've got an issue that the park board has with some trees that got planted at stop 29 on town property. That may come up as in part of their park board report, but if it doesn't, we probably ought to have it on as a separate agenda item. Trees are a big issue too. We got trees that stop at 1304. Those are the folks who want us to take down those cottonwood trees on town property on the right of way.
Yeah, but can they pay for any of that, Bob?
Well, that's what we need to discuss. I'll talk to Chris about how that might work too. They're big, nice trees. And frankly, my thought initially was for us to just trim them. But now I'm hearing it's possible that we might have to take some of them down as part of the sewer project. So we're going to have to see how that all works. But at least we can have it on the agenda and discuss it. I know John Coker wanted to not discuss it because he's out of town. But, it's not really fair to those property owners to at least not start the discussion, I think. Okay. So I thought I'd put that on there.
Yep.
We're going to let the deer folks give a report, so maybe just call that deer report. I told them 15 minutes. They sent out a big 61-page summary, which was very nice, and we'll probably post that on the website.
Did you get my email about how deer spread COVID?
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, do that.
Another reason to stay away from the deer.
Right? Jeez.
Yeah, maybe we could train that eagle to start eating deer. That'd be good.
Or all the deers have to wear masks? I don't know.
Maybe that'd be good. You had the request for the phone. We should put that on there.
Yeah, I know. That's
Put
not.
pressure.
I can easily buy a phone. I was getting thrown around that the cops are getting them, and I'm like, oh, give me a phone because I have a 219 number. Maybe I'll use. But if you think that's inappropriate for me to be asking, I don't really.
You know what? Why don't, if you want to put it on, you can. We can talk about it. If you'd rather not hold up, you want to hold off, that's fine too.
Okay.
I'll leave that up to you.
All right.
I'm going to talk to John about whether we want. We always have an item on there about the sewer project. This has been a particularly busy month with the sewer project, with all this stuff going on downstate. I'm going to talk to John and Chris to see exactly what we should be announcing now. They just did pass 1245. It seems to grandfather us, but it's going to make things a little tricky. So why don't we just put, I think sewer project has been a continuing item on there, and let's just leave it on there, and I'll talk to John about what he wants to say about that.
Okay.
The new boiler, want to put that on there.
Yep.
Let's put the ARPA plan on there, although that's probably going to continue over until the April meeting. But at least we can have it on there so we don't forget about it for the April meeting.
Okay.
Cyber insurance.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. I thought Mark had to talk about that today.
Yeah, I think that's just going to come up at town council, so we should be okay on that. Yeah, we could have talked about it today, though. You're right. The town handbook, or the employee handbook, I guess you want to call it. Because we have to have a resolution to pass that. And I think we hopefully will all have seen the final copy of that before the meeting. I think that lady who works for HR is going to have that ready, I hope.
I've seen it. I mean, they're hanging around the town hall. I don't know if you guys have all gotten them, but
well, I think they made modifications which have been on a PDF, and I've had some comments on that. Hopefully we'll get the final copy of that before then, and then we can put it out again.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I think it's going to be changed. And then I guess I had a question as to whether we should increase our Zoom cloud storage. We have on the website videotapes. That's not the word anymore. What is the term for videotapes? Anyway, but anyway, we have those on there. But we only have 100 gigabytes, and we're paying $40 a month. And so what happens is after about, 4 to 6 months, we run out of storage. And so I've been having to delete them. Well, I guess I'm wondering, legally, should we, would it be better to have way more of that so people who want to go back and look at a town council meeting from 4 months ago can?
Yeah, I think that we should.
It's going to cost us $100 a month instead of $40.
Yeah, let's do it. For the extra $50 to keep us out of trouble, that's worth it.
I think so. To me, that makes sense. Let's get approval from the council to do that, and then maybe I can call Zoom and find out what we need to do to get that done.
Increase digital storage for Zoom meetings.
Zoom recordings, yeah. Because we have the recordings of every meeting, like the one today. I'll get a thing from them probably in about 10 minutes saying, here's your recording. Then I send it to Meg Collins, and she puts it on the website.
So based on regarding that, so Deanna, she handles the minute, or she's been preparing the minutes.
Yes.
And she's a couple months behind, and she's very stressed about her minute preparation. And I thought I would ask you, do you have a certain amount of detail that you want in these minutes, or can she give kind of an outline so it's quicker for her to prepare? And my thought is, if there's any real detail, some super detail needed, and we have that, video or whatever, but then maybe she doesn't have to have everything recorded word to word in her minutes.
I think that'd be reasonable. Yeah, I think especially since we have the digital backup. Yeah, and then the other thought too I had is when you were saying that is, maybe. Of course, Joe would probably go crazy if the building commission secretary has to do that. He didn't like that.
Yeah.
But he wants to be in charge of that person.
I know.
Oh, wow.
I have a great girl, too, to do it, too, I think. I mean, she's 47 and eager and professional. So, and she lives in Michiana Shores. I got the resume into Mark's hands. Maybe let Joe to her. She's cute Irish girl, he'll love her, so maybe they'll.
Well, and maybe she's on a separate contract to do the town council minutes too, if that takes away some of that responsibility Deanna has. Because, you know, to me, it makes very little sense to hire somebody to sit in the office and interact with the contract, especially if that's something that Deanna likes, you know. Let's let people enjoy their jobs, you know.
Yeah, she does like it, although she won't admit it, but I know she likes it. So,
Well, and she's got to take the money anyway. So for her not to collect the permits and then simply transmit them to the building commission, you know, that's pretty minor. And I think she does a good job with that. So I've been happy with it.
she does.
So I think, yeah, we just got to make sure, because the HR committee kind of got a little carried away, I think, when they started talking about this new secretary taking those permits. That just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense from a workflow point of view.
And didn't Mary Lou have an email recently that minimized the need for this position, which I didn't necessarily agree with? Did you see that? Like,
I'm trying to remember. The one I saw from her, oh no, what it was she talked about it at the HR meeting, and she was talking about this HR or that secretary collecting the permits, and I called her up. I think I made a phone call to her and I said, you know, that's not really what we talked about. This was more, and so I didn't see that of the last email.
okay.
Unless it came out late yesterday.
No, it was something. It just seemed to be like, hey, we don't really even need this position. It maybe is for, you know, even 5 hours a week. I'm maybe paraphrasing, but I was like, if Joe and you guys think you need, you know, whatever, have at it. And if it makes Deanna's job a little bit easier, great. And I do agree that Deanna will continue to collect the payments, but if the new girl is doing minutes and keeping you guys organized and making photocopies or whatever, that's God bless it. It's fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of filing that gets done over there. And, you know, part of the deal too is Joe complains about his work, but he loves it. You know, he doesn't want to give it up. But he's willing to do this, so I think we need to kind of take advantage. And plus, you know what? Joe's not going to be around forever. Larry's got all his health issues. I think the more backup we can give both of those people, the better.
Yeah, okay. And well, based on this workload, doctor, I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to last.
Don't tell me about it. I got 2 years to go, Tim. And then I'm going to be like, okay.
Oh, Tim, it'll be like 5-6 hours a week. Don't worry, it's so easy. I'm like, oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah. Well, and it will get easier once you get it figured out. But yeah, it's a lot to swallow right now. I was struck today that, oh my God, there's a lot to this.
There's a lot. And, you know, I don't know if I made it clear to John, but I will. I mean, there's a lot to do, and there's a lot of bad things that happen if I don't do things properly.
That's right.
So yeah. I'm like, John, just give me the dates, call me a million times a day, text me, yell at me. Let's make sure that I don't miss a freaking date.
Yeah, like that ARPA stuff, you know, that if we miss that, we lose out on all that money. And that, you know, so yeah, you're right. There's bad shit that hits the fan.
I think your email to me was, it would be bad.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to be subtle.
I get it. I want to avoid the bad.
That's right. Cool. All right. Well, I think we got it covered. We'll see. I guess I need to talk to John and Chris about what we do with the sewer project and how we get the word out on what's happened. But yeah, we sort of won the battle there, but well, I should say we won the war, but we may have lost the battle. But the bottom line is the project's going to go forward, so that was good.
Great.
The town's not out $400,000 of engineering costs.
I know that would have been hard to figure out how to pay that.
Yeah, it'd have been awful. I'm just amazed at the stupidity of the state legislature. They passed this law, and basically it's going to be bad for the entire state of Indiana. We were able to get grandfathered out of the worst parts of it, basically. But I don't see how any small town is ever going to build a sewer until they repeal this law, because it's just crazy. It's just nuts. They basically said that if you want to build a sewer, fine, but you can't force people to hook up to it who live right by it, and you can't force them to pay for it. Wow. And it's like, well, you know, like our project is a $6-7 million project. Where do they think a town's going to come up with that kind of money?
Yeah.
And, you know, I think they're basically hoping that there's going to be this infrastructure money I'm not sure that that's going to happen. I just don't see it.
The way the government seems to be throwing around money, it's surprising that we have any to spend.
Well, and sooner or later that has to stop. And I think sooner rather than later is when it's going to stop, you know?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Did you, do you think all that 1245, all that is a result of one of our residents making noise downstate?
Oh, absolutely. Mr. Wendt is 95% responsible for what's happened here.
That's amazing. He made that happen that quickly with such, widespread conditions,
It's amazing what money can do, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really incredible. It's just phenomenal to me. But
are you aware of this lawsuit that we almost missed?
Yes. Yeah, and and there's two things that happened there. One was that looks like Bill filed it on his desk somewhere, and who knows where it went.
I know. I can't find it. I've been looking, and I found another small one that I sent to Chris yesterday, which he is aware of. I was like, "You got this one, right?" Yeah, he does. But the one that was the potential, problem yesterday that Chris has got taken care of. But I can't find anything on that. Deanna can't find anything, but allegedly a processor came and served somebody at the town hall, and that thing was hanging around.
Well, and then there was a FOIA request too that was before that, I think. Then that went to everybody on the town council. And from what Chris told me yesterday, apparently John and I are the only two who responded to it. That's bad too. You can't ignore those FOIA requests.
Yeah.
So I think Chris is getting a hold of the other council members to get their, and they don't have as much about the sewer project as John and I do, but I still think that, there's enough of it that kill that thing. Fortunately, it sounds like it's not going to be a problem. It sounds like the law firm has been reasonable, or is going to be reasonable about it, which is surprising because that's the same law firm that Mr. Wendt hired.
I didn't know.
So I was like, really? They're going to be nice about this? That doesn't make sense. They haven't been nice about anything else, but.
All right. Good. Well, I'll get with Deanna. I'll add these items to the agenda. We'll get it into your hands hopefully today, tomorrow at the latest, I think.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay. And if you need anything, don't hesitate to track me down.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. You have a good one.
You too. Bye.